Welcome back, everybody. It's Kelby, joined by Drew. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. We're here to do the culture episode today, and we are on core value number 3, effective communication. With this one's huge. You always hear communicate. Communication's got to be good, blah, blah, blah. You always hear that. But what people fail to forget is that the communication needs to be effective. That's why we have named this core value effective communication. When we say being effective, it's being detailed, brief, to the point, not beating around the bush, not adding too much detail that's not needed, but just being detailed and brief and clear. The example I give is if someone drops off a box on a job site, let's speak construction terms. If someone drops a box off and tells the superintendent, hey, Billy, can you take this box over there? Well, Billy should be asking, well, what's in the box? How heavy is it? Where should I take it? Why am I taking it there? When should I take it there? So that who, what, when, where, how, why, whatever. And then the supervisor should be letting them know, or the project manager should be letting them know those details up front. So it goes both ways for sure with communication. But the biggest thing is just effective. It's got to be effective, not just communicating, not just telling them this or that, but just telling them the why, the how, and all that is the key here with effective communication. And this is something that can be spread across your whole life. So I don't know if you have to add anything there.
Yeah, not to be too critical on ArmCorp, but I think the past few years our communication has been poor. Not just because it's, we were communicating just not effectively at all. Even between estimating project management and PMs project management and superintendents were communicating, but not as effectively as they could have. Yeah. And now you see literally every department talking and communicating, and even finance with some superintendents, and marketing with estimating. It's like it goes every which way now, and that we have a field operations guy now, so it's like it makes it so much easier for superintendents to feel like they're heard, and that they can get their voice out there and have their own opinions and ask why this job is running the way it is and why these problems are happening. So I think we've come a long way, and I think it's only up from here. We communicate a lot, but some parts could be more effective.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of departments. Like, think about that. You have so many departments. If a superintendent has to deal with all of them, and all those departments are asking him something of him or her to do something, that has to be communicated amongst all the departments internally. Because guess what? That superintendent has all these things placed on him, but that one department only knows the one thing that they communicated to him to have done.
Right.
They don't know all the other 5, 6, 7 other tasks that were just asked of them from everybody else.
Yeah.
And then that just is going to cloud and stress out the superintendent to the point where they're fed up. They're done with it. They don't want to do it. So that's a big thing. Just the multiple angles that people come at these superintendents or anybody in life. I mean, we want these core values to be spread over all aspects of your life. I mean, this goes into your marriage with your spouse or significant other or your kids. Just everything in life requires effective communication, because, I mean, it's literally the difference between a catastrophe and a breakthrough.
Well, you nailed it right on the head, because a lot of people say, yeah, we communicate, but are you doing it effectively? Like, are you making progress out of this communication? Because there's a lot of people who say, yeah, we communicate, we talk, but are like, is anything changing? Or are we seeing any results from this? Or are you guys getting the job done? Because if it's not effective, then your marriage will, slowly dissipate, and things will go, like you say, like a catastrophe.
Yeah.
If you don't effectively do it.
Just a little example as a personal level is I have kids, and when one of the kids comes to me and says, hey, Dad, can I have this? And I say no. You know what kids do? They go to the other parent and they ask. So if that's not communicated before, or if the other parent says, well, did you ask your dad? Yeah. What'd he say? No. Okay. Well, then there's your answer. But if that other parent undermines the first parent and says, yeah, you can do that, you can have that, You just completely undermined the first answer, and that miscommunication right there just caused a rift between you and your spouse. So it's just the domino effect goes both ways. We have, every decision, every encounter in life has a domino effect, either a positive or a negative way. And you got to think about that. When it goes in the positive way, you're communicating, firing on all cylinders. You're checking all the boxes. There's a domino effect for that. There's results that come from that. There's positivity that comes from that. There's new mutual feelings that come from that in a marriage or a company or anything like that. But then the domino effect the other way, the negative way, that's where your catastrophe comes in. That's where you lose money. That's where you lose employees. That's where you lose respect. That's where you lose loyalty. That's where you lose. All of these things can be lost just because the communication wasn't effective. So, and it's just with everything. I mean, communication's huge.
My biggest thing is for other companies out there, my advice is to hire veterans because they know what communication is like, especially coming out of the military. I mean, we have a lot of people. What do we have? 10 or 11 veterans, and they are all very, very good at communicating and getting their point across and very effective with it.
That's a great point because you think about it. In the military, they push chain of command. There's a chain of command. It's, for example, you have your commander, you have the underneath officers to them that break up the flight commanders, and then you have squadron commanders, and then you have like flight chiefs. There's this whole line of people, bottom to top. If one's jumping over the other in communicating to a subordinate, or if the subordinate's jumping over their supervisor, going to the flight chief or something like that, that's going to cause an issue.
Yeah.
It's going to cause, I get some people don't trust their supervisor or something like that, but that's got to be communicated effectively or nothing's ever going to change. You're just going to keep festering that and then add another problem to it by jumping over them and going to the flight chief or their supervisor. So the chain of command is huge, and that can eliminate a lot of problems in companies. It does in the military, and that's why you say hire veterans, but that's the reason. Since, I mean, you didn't serve or anything, but you do understand it being around these people, but I can put a little better, more spin to it, explaining what that is, and that's called the chain of command. I was going to add a lot of things that a lot of people personally, is don't assume anything. If you assume that saying, the saying, just ask questions. If there's a misunderstanding of something, there may be a miscommunication. A miscommunication just means there's no communication.
Yeah.
So ask the question. If you don't understand something, ask the question. No question's a dumb question. Like, people might look at you dumb, but like, who cares? If you don't understand it, don't risk it to where it puts anybody in harm or causes the business or your family members to be hurt or anything like that. Just ask questions. Communicate and communicate effectively.
I mean, we've had an example of a job that someone didn't ask questions or communicate with the door hardware, and they were stripping screws for the door hinges. I mean, that affects the business in the long run. If we had to replace all of that costs time and money. So if you don't ask questions, you're way worse off in the long run than you.
That's exactly right. I mean, if you're not reading the instructions, if you're misunderstanding something, thinking you can do it on your own, here comes that domino effect. You do it. Oh, guess what? It's done wrong. So now we have to redo it. And now we have to come do it again. And now people are getting frustrated because the time you're not hitting your timeline. So now you have the stress of dealing with that. And now guess what? We have to put more manpower on this job because it wasn't done right the first time. So that takes manpower away from another job. People don't look at that, what the ripple effect of a decision that we make in our life from just a minor miscommunication. We got to stop looking on the surface. We got to stop looking at it, and we have to slow down and just take our time and ask questions. It's better than asking. It takes 30 seconds to ask the question versus however much time and money is going to take from just that one little mistake or miscommunication.
Yeah, cutting corners does not really save any time or money in the long run. I mean, especially if you mess up and not read the instructions, it's just traumatic. I mean, you just miss the communication and you just think you can cut the corner, and in the long run, that's not how a business should operate.
Yeah,
or even in
crazy.
Life.
Yeah. So overall, just don't just say communicate. Like, don't say I talk to them. I let them know. Be effective with it. Be detail oriented with it. Just cross your T's, dot your I's. Just make sure it's clear, concise. Just it's there. Be effective with your communication. Every aspect of your life. I mean, if you're married, communicate effectively with your spouse. Let them know if something bugs you. Talk it out. Not everything has to be an argument. I mean, marriage is hard. 100% hard. Dealing with kids is hard. Kids, there's a great example. Kids don't know what you know. You didn't know what you knew now when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So you have to communicate that. Don't get so frustrated. I have to catch myself with this. I'm not perfect at all. I just did it last night. When my son's he came down in the crawl. Like, this is a crazy example. It came down in the crawl space. There's fiberglass bat insulation down there. It irritates me. I know that feeling. And I didn't catch that when he because every night he comes down complaining about something. But last night his eyes were red and he was saying it hurt. And I was getting verbally frustrated because I was like, this is Mom and I's time. We're trying to chill. You guys are supposed to be in bed. So I'm getting verbally frustrated with him. And after I thought about it, I was like, oh man, I feel bad. I know how that feels, getting that insulation in your eyes, on your arms. It's scratchy. It sucks. And so I went and apologized to him. I said, I said, I should have not blown up like that. I shouldn't have got frustrated with you because I knew something you didn't know.
Yeah.
So now I communicate that. I said, the reason you feel this way is because you were down in this insulation. You were around this. It's going to irritate your eyes. It's going to irritate your arms and all that. So he understands now. And that's all it took. Apologizing and just going and communicating exactly what it is. Kids are the perfect example because they don't know what you know.
Yeah.
You were in that spot one day too.
Mm-hmm.
So take a second, breathe, and just communicate it clearly with them.
Yeah.
So that's effective communication. You want to add anything?
No, I think we hit it all.
Yeah. So we even talked before this. We said when we're going to answer the question that was submitted on Facebook. Well, let's do it before. We'll do it first. Well, we didn't do that. So we have a question that was submitted on Facebook that we decided to answer on the culture episode. It was submitted by Brian. He asked, what do you look for in prospective employees? And I think we've hit on this a lot, and we're having lots of conversations about this lately. We just had it today about an area that we work in, and I told him we got to stop putting so much focus on experience. We got to stop putting focus on if they're fully prepared. I think the first level of the interview process should be find out their attitude, find out their behavior, find out about them, see how they would carry themselves, see how they carry themselves, put them through situational stuff. Just listen to them.
Yeah.
Hear them out. Like, someone could put on a resume in 15 years of this. That experience per se is their experience, how they see their experience. It could be a crap job. It could be poor quality.
Yeah.
But they just put 15 years of experience in this subject, this field. Mm. But is it to our standard? Is it to your standard, the company's standard? Is that the standard we've set at Armcorps? Can they get to that standard? Yes, of course, with the right attitude, with the willing to learn. But you cannot rely on experience. You can't rely on what they're saying about themselves. We all know resumes are fluffed up and buttered up and made to look great because we need a job. People are making those resumes to go get a job. They're not going to sit there and talk about, I mean, they may put on there the skills they have, computer skills, but that's so broad.
Yeah.
You don't know what exactly they can do. So sometimes don't put as much spotlight on that resume. Have the conversation with those people. Hear them out. Talk to them, get to know them right away, even before you have an official interview. So that's the biggest thing. That's what we look for in I didn't even answer that. What we look for in prospective employees is attitude, a good attitude, a positive attitude, willing to learn. They're adaptable, coachable. You might not initially hear that from some people, but if they start throwing those words out, that's good. That's a good sign that they're talking about leadership.
For sure.
We want people that are going to be leaders out there. I mean, you don't have to always rely on people above you to be a leader. You can be a leader yourself in your life. And if you carry that throughout your life in every other aspect, it's not about the business, because we've talked about this before. It's not about showing up and doing your job, because if you show up and you have an issue at home, that affects you at work. So we need you 100% in all aspects. It's not a work-life balance. It's 100%. I'm here. I'm with my family. Like, be 100% there. So that's what we're looking for, employees. We're looking for, these core values we have: integrity, honesty, the positive energy, just being able to effectively communicate, having a purpose, willing to accept the mission and purpose with your organization is what we look for at Armcorps. So just all those, the core values that we're talking about is what we look for. But to start is, we tell employees, if you're going to a job and you feel the energy is really low, we just talked about that in positive energy. If for you, I'd run. If that energy feels low and employees are already complaining or walking around just like zombies, like that's not a place you're going to enjoy, no matter the money.
Yeah.
But for employers, you don't want an employee that comes in that's already negative, that just doesn't take care of their appearance. Didn't even put any effort into their appearance or their behavior, their attitude towards something. Like, you don't want that. You don't want to waste your time with that, because we've wasted, as Armcorps, a lot of time on employees that just, we've wasted a lot of time on employees that just didn't work out. So it starts at that initial process. It starts at explaining and effectively communicating what this job is going to be. So yeah, that's what we look for, and we appreciate the question.
Yeah.
You got anything to add to that?
I got two things. If you're a younger kid going into an industry or coming out of high school, not wanting to go to college, my advice is don't always chase the money, because if you start doing that, then you'll get into bad culture, and there's going to be jobs out there where they'll pay well, but they're going to pull you away from your family on weekend trips and not give you the time off that you want. So really, really look for culture in a company. It's hard to find, but I think nowadays a lot of people are changing, but a lot of people are money hungry nowadays, especially with everything that's going on. But I think the best advice is not worry about the money per se right away, and then the money will follow after you get into a good culture where you can be able to improve and, upgrade in the company and be a superintendent, be a laborer, be something else, instead of just, pushing a broom the rest of your life and expecting a good paycheck every time.
Yeah. And to put the spin on it for effective communication on this question is, future employees and employers, be fully transparent. Employees, if an employer, a prospective employer tells you you are going to travel, and you tell them, I'm willing to travel. So you get hired, you come on. First time they come to you and say, hey, we got to send you here, or you've been at this place for a while, you start getting disgruntled, you start getting complaining, you get this bad habit, this bad attitude. Well, you said right away you were willing to travel.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Be fully transparent and have integrity. Set your standard. That standard's set in that first interview. For the employer, that standard's set in the first interview. Be fully transparent. Have effective communication in that interview. Don't fluff yourself to get the job, and don't fluff yourself to get that person hired.
Yeah. Be
fully transparent. Tell them what it is, or you're going to be wasting your time down the road with dealing with a bad behavior, bad attitude, complaining. You're going to be dealing with that. That's time wasted. When that time could be put towards and invested in bettering yourself, bettering your people that are already there. If you're wasting so much time with someone who has a bad attitude, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I think I've said this on here before. I don't care if that person can do work more than anybody, better than anybody. If they have a bad attitude, they're a bad employee to me.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You're taking hours and time away from the job, from an office person to talk to them, a supervisor to talk to them. That's time wasted. So be transparent, be effective with your communication, hold your standard, and be honest.
I agree.
So
yeah. One more thing is, if you want to effectively communicate with us, you can share the show, questions, comments, concerns on any of our social medias. The links will be in the description. We are on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces. If you have any questions, please reach out. Like, answering a question today was awesome.
Yeah, well, we're looking. Yeah, we appreciate that, Brian. We're looking to expand. We want this to spread, because we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it to help others out there. We're taking our time to help anybody. This is the whole point of being free, being an American is just providing to ourselves, providing to our families, providing to our coworkers, providing to the community. I mean, we want people to win. So we also, a community is everybody together collectively. So if we're putting out there what we have, we need everybody else to join in, and let's learn from each other. Let's build off of each other and just become great. It's that personal excellence, is where that's where we'll succeed. So
yeah, if you found value out of this episode, please share.
Yeah, share, subscribe, so we can get spread to other people. I mean, that's what's going to help us get. We need to get more engagement and spread throughout. So yeah, you can email us. We're on most of the social, if not all the social media platforms. But yeah, we appreciate the support. That's all I think we have.
Yep. Have a good one.
Yeah, everybody have a good one.